Our guest with us in studio is Carlos Sanchez. Carlos is director of Fair State University's Latino Business and Economic Development Center. Try saying that 3 times fast. And he wears a number of other hats in the West Michigan community. He's here today to talk about business growth and its inextricable link to talent and talent development. Carlos, bienvenido. Welcome to Feel Like You Belong.
Muchas gracias, Alan.
Yeah, great to have you here. So you started out in Mexico City, found your way to Cancun. What took you to a more comfortable climate?
Well, I was in Mexico City. I was on my second, almost third year in college. I took an internship at Club Med. I thought it was going to last for
Were you a business major, hospitality major?
Yes, hospitality major,
okay,
actually,
okay.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I thought it was going to last, 6 months or so. It lasted 4 years.
They liked you or you liked them? Or?
We liked each other, I think. They took me to many different countries in I don't know, 3, 4 continents. I've been as far as Tunisia, and Northern Africa. And I loved it, but I ended up, my last assignment was in Cancun, Mexico, and I thought that was it. I was done with that. I really wanted to be more stable, if you will. So when I arrived in Cancun, I started working at a resort where my now wife used to work. We started working together, so we met, started working together, fell in love, got married, and 4 years later, we decided that because she is or was an attorney, she would have better opportunities back home here in Grand Rapids. She's originally from Grand Rapids. And possibly I will have also more opportunities, which now we know, yes. This was the, if not the perfect decision, but it was the best decision we could ever make.
A career move to come back north to her.
Correct.
Her stomping grounds. So before we go on though, I need to ask, because people are dying to know, so who caught whose eye first when you started working together? Were you like going, oh, look at her, or was she going like, oh, check out this guy?
Well, we were in what we were doing in this hotel. It was in pairs.
Okay.
So we were assigned to work together.
Oh my.
So I really don't know. I mean, she's beautiful, so I like her immediately. I don't know if
Smart, charming. Yeah,
oh
she
yeah,
is the whole package. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
And so I don't know if at that. I don't think it was love at first sight, but it was. I mean, I liked her right away, and just as we started working together, continued working together, we developed that friendship that ended up in some. I mean, we were together within the first maybe 6 months of working together. So again, so if not love at first sight, we do believe that that was meant to happen.
And respect and friendship is a good way to start. Moving
Absolutely.
into the next level.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was your biggest shock moving from Mexico to Michigan?
It was a shock, but I guess in a positive way. I've lived in the U.S. before. I've traveled to the U.S. before. My parents, we used to come to the border. We have family in Houston, so we will travel on during the holidays, etc. But coming here to West Michigan, to Grand Rapids, the shock was the greenery of it. So much forestry, so many trees, the water, everything was. I arrived here May 5th, actually, Cinco de Mayo, figure. So everything was in bloom. Yeah. Everything was green. What
May is a beautiful month.
Yeah, what is supposed to be green was green. What was supposed to be color was color. So it was just beautiful. It was awesome. So that was just it made me feel very, very, very welcome. Then at first, the snow, we had a really bad storm. I arrived here in 1998. So it was also a shock. But I had people that told me right away, layer up, and as long as you keep your feet dry and warm, you'll be fine. And again, one of the best advices I've ever gotten, and so 20 some years later, I'm here.
And working for Club Med, which is an international organization, I'm assuming the operating language is English.
Yes, in the what it's called the American Zone, which is the Caribbean, Mexico, the U.S.
Okay.
As soon as you move on to Europe and, of course, the Middle East and other places, they require you to speak French. Incidentally, when I was asked if I wanted to go to Europe, they said, "Do you speak French?" I said, "Oui." Like, okay, you're going.
Was that the only French word you spoke, or did
About that, yes, yes, yeah.
you know, it's good to have some self-confidence.
Yes,
and-
exactly, yeah,
indeed,
yeah.
indeed. That's awesome. So now that when you got here in 1998 to West Michigan, you started working, and you've had a number of different employers at that time, and really spanning a lot of different organizations, and talk about a little the different hats that you've worn in the interim.
Well, the very first job that I had, I did an unpaid sort of internship at the Parks and Recreation Dep. I was there for maybe 6 months, and then got my my working papers and started working selling cars, selling Buicks. And it was during the winter. It was what someone might consider grunt work, but again, several years later, I know that was a really good learning ground for stuff that I would be using years later, right?
Did they especially assign you to take care of Spanish-speaking customers?
No, that was not. At some point, we thought that we would do that, but there aren't that many Latinos who buy Buicks.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, there are more Latinos buy BMWs than Buicks, but that's probably a different show. So no, I was just selling first used cars, then new cars, then I was assistant manager, and then I was in charge of the transition into new branding for the entire dealership. So, but that was great. After that, I was at Davenport. I was finishing college. So I didn't finish in Mexico. I came to finish here. Started working at the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce, where I met Sonia Hughes and the diversity in the diversity department and the diversity practice, which I thought that's where I belong.
Yeah.
And from there, Spectrum Health, the Hispanic Chamber, Ferris State. That was kind of in a short, in 20 years, that's what I've been doing.
Sure. So talk about what you're doing now at Ferris, because this is really some important stuff.
Sure.
Especially you have 2 initiatives that you're
Correct.
really proud of and working on.
Yeah. So a little bit of background. When I was at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, I had already gone through Leadership Grand Rapids. And there were, if not many, but there were quite a few young Latino professionals who would come to me and ask about books to read, courses to take, things like that, to develop their leadership skills. So I thought, why don't we have something like LGR for Latinos? And because in order to create a safe space, because the question of what does it mean to be a Latino professional in a multicultural workplace was always there. So we need to create this safe space and space for Latinos, Latina, all right? So, so we decided to start the Latino Talent Initiative, but frankly, I could not.
Through the center.
First, I tried at the Hispanic Chamber.
Oh, okay.
But lack of resources, and because the chamber, resources, and the chamber was going different ways, I came across the provost at Ferris State. He said, tell me more about it. We had a really long conversation, and he said, you gotta come to Ferris and do this. They offered me a job, and that's what we started.
And that's been how many years now?
It's 5 years, yes. So that's how I went to Ferris, and they've supported me in this endeavor. So basically, is developing Latino, Latinx leaders throughout West Michigan. Aside from that, also their idea was to support the Latino community in entrepreneurial efforts. Talk
about the leadership development program first.
Sure.
So how does that look?
Well, we started, actually, that was the program that started first, because I was a one-man show at that time, so we started that. We, I was, I didn't know that I was using sort of a design thinking process, because what I was doing is I was asking the user, right, the Latinx professional, what do you need? What is it that you feel like you could use? And also polling on this side, managers, hiring managers, and people that would use these professionals. Out of that, we came with this program. Kristen Ekens, you
Absolutely.
probably know her.
Doing good work.
Yes, she helped me develop the very first the pilot. We put together the curriculum, and then I just basically asked other 3 individuals to help me in this pilot. So we do a cultural intelligence, that's Kristen, then leadership, professional development, and the last piece is civic engagement. We've been doing that for 5 years now, but of course it has evolved. We've again in a very design thinking process. We pilot, we test, and then we get feedback. If it works, we continue doing it, or we tweak. And if not, it's like, okay, put it aside. Maybe we'll use it later. So, and it's been 5 years, almost.
So what was the size
100.
of your first cohort, and how many people have gone through?
The size of the first cohort, they were about 22, maybe 23 participants. And so far, we are close to 100 of them,
Okay.
about 20 per cohort.
Okay, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the comment of participants coming out of that? What do they appreciate most about that experience?
The unintended consequence of this, but is one of the best consequences, is the development of a network of individuals that shared the same experience, and now they can kind of like in other areas pick up the phone and say, I need you to help me doing this, or can I help you doing that? And they know what they're talking about. So now it is growing. And again, it was unintended because we wanted to work on the individual,
Mm-hmm.
but then of course now we know that we need to work, if we work in the group, then that just kind of multiplies exponentially the impact in the Latino community, and of course in our general community, right?
Yeah, and talk about the business development program.
So about 2 years ago, we wanted to support again the entrepreneurial efforts of Latinos in West Michigan, and because there are, if not a lot, but there are many players in that space. I was looking at what was needed, and nobody was helping the Spanish speaker Latino entrepreneur intentionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Hispanic Chamber, the Grand Rapids Chamber, you name it, they look at everyone, but nobody was focusing on this group, particularly also that those that want to start lifestyle businesses.
Okay.
So rather than high tech, a restaurant, cleaning houses, things like that. So we hone on that group. We partnered with Spring GR, and they developed, they use a curriculum developed by co-starters in Chattanooga, in Tennessee.
Okay.
They translated the curriculum in Spanish, and now that's what we've been using that for. This is our 3rd cohort.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's been the response both from the university and the community?
In the university is great because now we're trying to see how can our student population support this Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs, but also how can this culture that might be foreign to our fair students, how can they influence them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is one. But of course, in the Latino community, it's great because, again, nobody was doing that. Our first cohort, we had 13 people. We thought this is great. We're gonna kill it. The second cohort, I take full responsibility, and everyone knows this, that again, because I thought we had developed a name, we didn't promote that much, and we had 7 people. So we
Humbling
doubled.
but important feedback.
Well, yeah, absolutely, right? So we double our efforts, and now we have 30 people on this cohort. So it is fantastic. It's been very, very well received.
We're going to have to wrap up in just a moment, but I want you to take us out on the vision that you have for the West Michigan community, for Latino talent development.
Sure. The vision is that this will become sort of a norm, right? That we won't I mean, even though we have a program for Latinx and a program for everybody else, but it will be from the non-Latino community will say that, oh yes, I know that program, I respect, they're very good, you can choose to go this, to go there, so it will just become sort of something that is a du jour, rather than, right now it's sort of like a, kind of like exotic type of program, right?
Okay.
Kind of like it's very new, it's innovative, is this? Yes, it is, but I want to get to a place where again, is du jour, is something that everybody can do, and of course see more Latinx professionals in for-profit, non-profit, and government, right? That is also not unique, but it's also, we have 5 here, 10 there, etc. So that is the vision. That is what drives me pretty much every single day.
Yeah, it's great to hear, great to know. Thank you for coming in and sharing your expertise, your story. Continued success in the talent development in West Michigan, because we all know talent is being recruited everywhere, and if we don't make efforts to keep people here, recruit them and keep them here, they're going to go elsewhere. So thank you for continuing to help develop this region.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, and please continue doing the great work that you do.
Thank you, appreciate it. And thank you for joining us. If you're watching on TV, stay tuned for our following segments on information and humor. If you're watching us on the internet, I hope you will check out our other conversations with the intrepid immigrants who are working to make these United States a more powerful place.
If you really want to move my soul as a Latino, in spite of the fact that I'm fully bilingual, I love the music.